Today was one of the saddest days in our history. It was a national embarrassment. We now have third world countries that are lecturing us, and we have tin pot dictators that are mocking us. I've lived my entire life with and alongside people who came to America fleeing countries plagued by political violence and by chaos. Today, America looks like the countries that they came here to get away from.
Senator Marco Rubio right there. The sun has set in the nation's capital, and there are questions tonight about the state of our democracy after the storming of the Capitol yesterday.
And joining us now to talk more about that, Dr. Eduardo Gamarra, professor of political science in the Department of Politics and International Relations at FIU. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. Now, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, we just heard from him there. He campaigned for the president in 2020, saying a Trump presidency was the only thing that would protect the United States from the fate of countries like Cuba, like Venezuela. So what's your reaction to what we saw yesterday and how it compares to unstable countries all over the world?
Well, the senator is right in his ex post facto analysis. The image that the United States gave off yesterday is very much the kind of image that we saw less than a year ago in El Salvador, when the president and his followers stormed the legislative palace there. It's a very similar scenario to October of 2019 in Bolivia, when dozens of protesters stormed the presidential palace and essentially forced President Evo Morales to resign. And of course, there are numerous comparisons to Venezuela and so on. But the reality is that behind all of this, and I think this is where the senator bears some of the responsibility, this is something that was predictable. The kind of leadership that President Trump has developed obviously was going to conclude in something akin to this, with a vast number of people mobilized and with virtually no accountability. And more importantly, leaders like Senator Rubio, who essentially cheered him on the entire way. So I think it's sort of disingenuous for the senator to now try to wash his hands of any responsibility.
Disingenuous on the part of Marco Rubio and a lot of other people who have been enablers of this president. We've spoken to you before about President Trump's strongman appeal. The president has a lot of diehard supporters. Could this become acceptable behavior for an American president moving forward?
I don't think so, Elliot. And, perhaps I think maybe, we want to see the silver lining of this tragedy. Maybe this is the end of a cycle, and hopefully it is, because I think if you look at what has happened, the electoral system worked exactly as it was designed, culminating with the certification of the new president last night. So the system has worked. And I think, in contrast to other countries of the region and worldwide, the one thing that we do have is institutional strength. Despite everything, we still have very strong institutions that will take us in a very different direction. But our survival largely depends on not being complacent. I mean, this is a strong democracy still, but complacency leads to these kinds of situations. And, this kind of democratic backsliding that we've witnessed over the last few years is something that can happen again. But I'm confident that we have the institutional strength, the sufficient institutional strength to overcome this moment and to hopefully move forward in a better direction.
Dr. Gamarra, just in the break before introducing you on the show here, President Trump was allowed to tweet something. He tweeted out a video. In it, he said a new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th, and his focus is now on ensuring a smooth, orderly, seamless transition of power. He seems like he's changing his tone from the video that he put out yesterday, but despite that, there are calls for the president's removal immediately. They don't want to wait until Inauguration Day. Is that a sign that Congress is willing to step back from brinksmanship?
Well, first, the president's tweet is a little too late. He should have done it a long time ago. In fact, even way before the incidents yesterday. But I also think that it's probably not a wise thing to try to escalate the political confrontation with the outgoing president. He has 12 or 13 days left in office. I think it would probably make more political sense to simply let him live out his term and essentially leave the office in ignominy. But I think, down the road, the president bears responsibility, legal responsibility, probably for yesterday. But the actions should be taken once he's left office. I don't think we need any more political turmoil over the next 10 or 12 days, because it's going to be difficult enough for President-elect Biden, to assume office in the middle of yet an unresolved political confrontation with President Trump.
Well, Donald Trump is coming to Florida when he leaves the White House, so we got more Donald Trump coming. What does history tell us about redemption for officials who were complicit and helped prop up dangerous leaders?
Look, I think that especially looking at Florida leadership, right, our local leaders included, their campaigns were filled with the negative messaging, false messaging, filled with ideas that came from conspiracy theories, and those were messages that worked and that were very successful. But I think that we are now in a different time, and I think Senator Scott, who voted the wrong way last night, in my opinion, but Senator Rubio as well, and these two representatives who have just, achieved their place in Washington, Maria Elvira Salazar, a former colleague of yours, and our former mayor, both, I think, were complicit in the kind of messaging that led us to this deep division that we have in the country, which has not ended, and it's very deep. And so I think they have some kind of atonement to do in the days going forward, because the solution is really going toward the middle, not going toward the edges. And unless we can rebuild the center, we have a long process of trying to reassert our democratic values and our democratic institutions.
Professor Gamarra, thank you very much for joining us.